I told everyone, you didn't tell. I'm taking back the whispers and I'm owning my truth in a way that I'm going to go on Oprah. Wherever they'll have me,
right.
I'm going to tell this story.
How powerful. I mean, that was something you had to do. You had to do it.
What a place of fear that I was kind of navigating. It breaks my heart for kids that are still doing that. It breaks my heart for the little me.
And that's one of the beauties, too, of maturing and getting older. You don't care, like, what people think as much. It doesn't stop you in your tracks like it did.
My faith has been a constant in my life. So I want to separate faith from religion.
That moment could have meant the difference between, somebody caring and not caring. It's so important.
And I'm good. I'm good at it.
Right.
Good songwriter.
You are.
Good singer.
Yes, lady, you are. Today on the Iconic Midlife, I'm joined by a woman who is not only a trailblazer in country music, but a truth teller, a change maker, and an unapologetic force of nature. Shelley Wright made history as the first major country music star to come out publicly, shattering silence, breaking barriers, and inspiring a generation with her courage. She's a celebrated singer-songwriter, an advocate for LGBTQ+ rights and mental health, a devoted mom, and now has become a part of the corporate world and is the walking definition of reinvention done right. We're diving deep into identity, artistry, motherhood, midlife shifts, and what it really means to live authentically, even when the world isn't ready for it. So grab your headphones and get ready for some serious truths and a whole lot of inspiration from the amazing Shelley Wright. Welcome to the Iconic Midlife. I'm so thrilled to have you. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Number one, I'm so delighted to be here. When I learned of your podcast and what you're doing and the conversations you're having intentionally, I got so excited and I was like fangirling, I've got to be on that podcast. So thank you for allowing me to come on.
Oh my gosh, well, absolutely. And I feel the same about you. I feel like I'm fangirling too. So, you had such an amazing career. People got to know you during all of your country, music singing. You had so many great hits. But I think the time when everything just totally exploded is when you spoke your truth and you came out of the closet. And I remember watching that Oprah episode. Like,
you do.
I do. It was so moving because it was so raw and it was so real for you. And for those, that was in 2010. So that was kind of like pre-social media, right?
Yeah.
Had it like really gotten so crazy like it is now. So everybody watched Oprah. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
Right?
People, television, network TV, and it was back before Oprah had her Oprah Network. It was on network TV. And you really did. It was kind of appointment viewing with TV. People watched it.
They really watched it. And you were also on Ellen DeGeneres. I mean, so many great things. Were you ready for all of the media attention and the spotlight? Because you obviously had already been in the spotlight with your music career, but that kind of really like a spotlight.
It's a great question, Roxy. And when you grow up from being a kid in Kansas at age 4, I said, I'm going to be on the Grand Ole Opry. I'm going to be a country music singer. When you think about those kind of thresholds of achievement, being on the radio, TV, magazines, all of that, newspapers, I don't think anyone ever goes into it so they can get on TV or so they can be famous, but it is a metric of how well you're doing with your art, your craft. And it also, when you have those media achievements, it means you get to keep doing the job a little bit longer, which is what we artists all look for. Had you asked me when I was 15, did I ever want to go on TV to talk about the fact that I'm gay? I would have just as soon, jumped off a steep cliff. That said, when I decided to come out, and when I decided to come out the way I came out, to answer your question, was I ready for it? Yeah, I was ready for it. And I knew I needed to do it that way because I had a pretty interesting story to tell. I often joke that I could have tweeted, hey, y'all, I'm gay, or MySpace, hey, y'all, I'm gay. But I needed to tell the the whole story, which was that I am a person of faith that's gay. I am a kid that grew up loving the Grand Ole Opry and country music. I'm gay. I have been supportive of the troops, and I'm the salt of the earth kind of Midwestern roots person. And I'm also gay, and I always knew it. And that I'm broken in the many ways that humans are, but my brokenness is my being gay has nothing to do with my humanity and being broken. It's just it's a really important part of who I am. And so I was ready for it because I walked willingly into that readiness that I'm going to be telling my whole truth anywhere anyone can allow me to do it, because I thought it was an important story to tell.
Absolutely. You're such a trailblazer. In fact, at that time, I feel like you were the first country music singer that really came out and, spoke your truth.
I was the first. And despite how anyone wanted to frame it afterward in the industry, like, well, we knew, right. The fans, I told everyone, you didn't whisper about me anymore. I'm taking back the whispers, and I'm owning my truth in a way that I'm going to go on Oprah. I'm going to, wherever they'll have me, right. I'm going to tell this story.
That's really powerful, because I can imagine also, you are this public person in the country Western music, world. It hasn't really been known for being accepting of, things like that. So, I mean, how did you kind of wrestle with that? Like, was that ever something that held you back, or were you just all in? Like, you just knew you had to do it?
I wrestled with it for a lot of years. I mean, I was 4 when I decided I wanted to be a country music artist. I was 9 when I realized I was gay. I was 18 when I moved to Nashville. I was 22 and a half when I signed my first writer's deal, and then my record deal would come shortly after it. When you are kind of organizing and inventorying your life as a queer, closeted person who wants to make it in country music, you make these big, grand deals. And my big, grand deal that I made about my life and my deal with God and my maker, or whatever, however people look at it, I just thought that's something I could hide. When you're 18 and 19 and 14 cutting deals with God, it's easy to say, well, I'll hide that. And then life happens, and then you begin to understand how important companionship and authenticity are. And so in my 20s and 30s, I just thought, this is something I have to take to my grave. And then by the time I realized my grave might come much sooner if I don't deal with who I am, and I was also very proud of who I am as a person. Being gay wasn't a point of shame for me. It was early on, but when I realized, I don't think I'm going to hell for this. I think I'm exactly as God made me. It was really hard for me to act shameful about who I am when I'm not ashamed of who I am. And so I did wrestle with it until the day I nearly ended my life. And the morning after I didn't end my life, I was like, I'm either going to not survive the closet at the hand of I had a gun that my parents had given me for safety. So I'm either going to pull the trigger, and I say that knowing that's a big thing to say, or I'm going to come out. And not only am I going to come out, I'm going to come out well. And that began my just figuring out, how do I unravel this explicit, implicit truth, a lie essentially, that I'd told the world. How do I unravel that in a way that has integrity, authenticity, productivity? How do I use my public capital to do some good and free myself of this just albatross that I'd tied around myself?
Did you have any regrets from that moment in time, or from that time period when, everything was kind of coming out?
It's a great question. The way I came out was criticized in certain circles and corners. Now, I got a lot of support and a lot of, oh my gosh, way to go, that was incredible, you helped me, or you helped my mom see this differently, or but there were criticisms about how I came out, including but not limited to, she did it for the money. I'm like, what money? Like, what are you people?
What are you talking about?
Right. If it was such a lucrative decision, all the queer country artists before me would have come out. Anyway, it's kind of funny that anyone would say that, but including, what would seem too coordinated. Well, I'm a strategic person. I had a paper route when I was a kid. I was strategic about my paper route. I was strategic about how I did gigs when I was in high school with my band. I was strategic about getting to Nashville and realizing I'm not the best country singer in a 100-mile radius. I was in Kansas, but when I got to Nashville, everybody was good. And my strategy hat went on, and I was like, okay, I won't be outworked. There may be better singers, better songwriters, but I'm going to learn the business. I'm going to learn my craft, get better at my craft, and I'm going to put on that strategy hat, and I'm going to find a way to get this done. And I did. So just kind of in keeping with the way that I think and the way that I was raised was plan your work and work your plan. And that included how I came out. There was a very strategic way to tell my story and to affect positive change for people like me and for people who love people like me.
Absolutely. And what would you say to somebody who is on their own coming out journey? Maybe they're not out yet, but they want to come out to their family, their friends, their loved ones. What do you say to them if they still feel like they're being, they're held back a bit?
Yeah, I'm lucky since I came out to have been a person that people talk to about this, whether they be other publicly known people or people who come to my shows and wait till afterward to talk to me and share their story or write to me. And I feel very honored to have people ask me, what is your advice on coming out? My North Star is do not come out until you feel safe and able. And those criteria are very different for a lot of, it's a sliding scale for a lot of different people, right? So if you're living in the rural South or, the rural Northeast and anywhere an hour outside of a major metropolitan area, you're in the country. And so I do not say, just get a gay pride flag and run down the middle of Main Street. That does not meet the criteria of safe and able. Those of us with resources, which is a privilege, a lot of us moved out of our small towns, right? But moving out of your small town requires resources and opportunity. So don't come out until you've thought it through and you feel safe and able. And I will say that be mindful about who your people are in terms of who you think might be an ally. And, it's, again, I wouldn't recommend to most people to go to their Twitter, their MySpace. And many people do. Many people declare it on National Coming Out Day, right? There are days that are meant to create a framework and a kind of let's jump together kind of movement. And I love those movements, but I often wonder about the unintended risks of telling people it's coming out day, throw caution to the wind, because in a lot of places in America and around the world, coming out can mean that you lose your housing. It can mean that you are excommunicated from your church. It can mean that your parents kick you out of the house. It can mean that you have a hard time showing up at work and at school. So I think a measured, strategic, careful approach is important for all. That's my best advice.
That's the best advice. That's actually great advice. Be prepared and be ready, before Yeah. Yep. How much did you rely on your faith during that time? Was that and is that something that's still constant in your life?
I'm really lucky, Roxy, in that my faith has been a constant in my life. So I want to separate faith from religion. So I grew up Christian, and we went to church on Wednesday night and Sunday morning and Sunday night, and everyone did in my small farm town community in Kansas. And for a lot of years, once I realized that my faith was important to me before I realized I was gay. I was baptized before I realized I was gay. And then once I realized I was gay, it's almost as if those messages about people like that, the homosexuals and what was being talked about in the sermons, it's almost like every sermon was about that. And I'm sure it was because I noticed it I received those kind of teachings in a really big, outsized way because I was so scared that I was that person, which I was. And so I spent a good deal from age 9 to, probably 18, 17, being sure that I was going to hell. So every day from age 9 until I was maybe 17 or 18, I said a prayer every single day of my life, multiple times a day. Dear God, I promise to be a good person. I promise to not lie, cheat, steal. I promise to be a good person. Please just take it away. In your name I pray. Amen. And when I think back to the 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old me, spending the time and the effort to give God time to change me and to pray that prayer out loud, and I'd go out to the middle of a cornfield and say it out loud because it wasn't working I'd say it quietly, and I was like, well, I'm not saying it often enough. Maybe I need to say it out loud. I would go find places where I could say it. And I have a 12-year-old boy, they'll be 12 soon. And when I think about what I would want for my children in their childhood, what a wasted effort, and what a place of fear that I was kind of navigating. It breaks my heart for kids that are still doing that. It breaks my heart for the little me. But when I realized, wait a minute, God made me exactly as I am. God, I felt like it was so weird, this kind of bifurcated thing, this faith and then the religion piece. I knew in my heart of hearts that the God that made me, that gave me music, that allowed me to sit down at a piano and hear songs and just be able to play them, I knew that came from somewhere. And so it became more and more difficult to reconcile that God was finding me in favor in so many ways. I felt like God shined favor on me. And then that didn't make sense that I would also be damned to, eternal damnation. Right. I just, at some point, 17 or 18, I was like, I'm okay. I'm not in spiritual jeopardy, but I knew I was in social jeopardy. And I knew I was in country music jeopardy. I knew no one had acknowledged being gay in country music. And when I got to Nashville, I just doubled down on that secret. And I'm like, well, if anyone's ever going to come out, it's not going to be me. And it would be 20 some years later, it would be me.
Wow.
That said.
How powerful. I mean, that was something you had to do. You had to do it.
I had to. Well, I was not going to survive it if I didn't. And I also knew that I'd been a good steward of my life. And I knew that, the things that people said about gay people, especially in faith communities, well, they're sick and they're broken and they're addicts and they're this and they're that, and someone, traumatized them in their childhood. And none of that was true for me. And I knew I had a really unique capital, and I had been a good steward of my life. And how could anyone argue with the life I'd lived? I'm just a farm girl from Kansas that loves the Opry, and I didn't break rules, and I was a straight A student. I followed all the rules, and I don't drink, I don't smoke, I never did drugs. How could anyone argue with what I had to offer about all of those things, and then saying, oh, one more card I want to lay on the table for you to ponder. Do with it what you will, but I'm a gay person.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. I think in midlife too, and tell me if you've been, kind of noticing this, but I think a lot of women are really, finding out who they are and really speaking their truths as well. And there is a kind of a buzzy phrase that's called late in life lesbian. And so it's been kind of going around, right? Yeah. Perhaps maybe a woman was married to a man, or she had dated men before, whatever the story is. I just want to know what you think about that. And is that something that you're seeing as well? And just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So shortly after I came out, I recall I had the TV on, and there was a guy named Dr. Drew. Forgotten his last name, but he had a network talk show. and he was talking about late in life lesbians, and he was making this kind of dramatic causation, like correlation between menopause, and it must be something that happens during menopause. And it was so crazy to me. It's not that menopause, that's not it. It's that at that time, and again, Meredith Baxter Burney had just come out. She and I came out around the same time. And I have met thousands of late in life lesbians, late in life gay men. It's not that they turned gay late in life. It's that they decided, I feel safer. I've putting a premium on my happiness. And I almost married men, right? It would have been, it could have easily happened. And the reasons that people women and men make decisions to, even if they're gay, to marry a man or marry someone of the opposite sex is because you don't think you're ever going to get to be that authentic person. So what do? You say, you know what? If I'm going to have to live this traditional life with which society expects me to, I'm going to pick a partner that I like, that my values are aligned. And they sometimes their partner knows that they're gay. Sometimes it's a gay man marrying a gay woman, and they say, let's partner up and let's live a life together. A lot of that. And then sometimes it's a woman marrying a man that she's like, well, I want to have a family, and I don't think I can have a family as a gay person, and I really love this man, and I love him as much as I can. I'm not really wired to love him, in an intimate way, but do my values align? And do I want to build a family? And he's a good person. Let's do that. So it's not that people turn gay late in their lives. It's that the aperture of what life can be, and that there are more gay people who have raised their hand and said, hey, I'm gay. It's that if you see it and there's representation in the world, you begin to think, maybe I too could have that. So the late in life lesbian, and again, there's no rule that holds for everyone. It's not a monolith, but there's absolutely, I think, 99% of the people who become late in life lesbians they probably fell in love with their best friend when they were 20, or the mom of their kid's best friend, and probably were like, am I gay, or what's going on here? Late in life lesbian to me just means they just got tired of living their life with the expectations and social norms that have been put on all of us. And at some point, it's like late in life women who decide, I'm going to divorce this guy after 30 years because he's an asshole. Right. It's the same bucket of people saying, no more. I'm going to live for me now. And some of them are late in life get divorced women because they're sick of the husband, and she's been doing all the work for 30 years, or she's not loved him for 20 years. And that's the same bucket of people, women that say, I'm just going to live my life. And I know I love women, and I'm going to date women, or I'm going to,
That makes complete sense. Sense. Yeah. It does.
Are you a straight person?
So I am a straight person, married, 20 years actually this past week to my husband.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's always a roller coaster though. It's like very, up and down. And
marriage is I talk about faith. It's a faith practice. Marriage is a practice as well. And it's good work. And if you're doing the work with the person you want to, it's really gratifying. Congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And you too, because you've been with your wife for, is it 14 years now.
In August.
So
it's crazy.
How do you guys navigate this crazy thing called marriage,
Yeah, it is again, my North Star is this the person I want to be doing the work with?
Right.
And my answer is, this is good work with, I love Lauren, and she's so funny, and we had preemie twins, and we've gone through a lot together. And at the end of the day, she's the one I want to call. She's my first call, my last call of the day, and that's good stuff. And when you study the arc of marriage, my grandparents were married 50 plus years, and lots of long marriages in our kind of ecosystem of humans. And when you really dig in and talk to people who've been married 60, 50 years, there's not a single one of them that haven't said, oh, it was rocky. It was hard. And I like doing the work.
It is. You're absolutely right. There is work. And I heard this piece of marriage advice. It said, just don't want to get divorced at the same time.
Oh my God. Right.
That's good times.
Right.
Right.
Right. Someone at every juncture, we need at least one of the people saying, we're in this, baby. Let's, quitting. I'm not much of a quitter.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those things too, like you're saying, if you find that right person, you can weather the storms, and it's just, it is putting in the work.
Yeah.
But when you guys feel a little bit off kilter or there's like issues going, what brings you back to each other?
Laughter.
Okay.
What we believe to be, our family with we identical twin boys, George and Everett. When I think about the 90-year-old me, Lauren's still in that circle. And in the past, 5, 6, definitely COVID inspired some thinking for me. And that my goal is to just think about the outcome and my last day. Mm-hmm. It may sound macabre, and maybe it's the songwriter in me, but I think about what I want my last day to look like. And then I just reverse engineer into that.
Oh,
I have about 10,000 sunrises left.
Wait, has this been calculated? Is it really 10,000?
That's my math, right? If I'm, live to be late 80s or whatever, I'm 54. So I've got, give or take, 10,000 sunrises left. And at the end of the whole, whatever this is, there is only one question to be answered. And the question to be answered will be, whether it's me kind of out of body looking at myself or my creator, there will be one answer, one question. And the question is, what did you do? What did you do? And everything I do here and in my life, I'm reverse engineering into what I want that moment to look like. And maybe I'm really thinking a lot about this lately because my dad died a little over a year ago. And we were all there. And the pilgrimage that people made in my dad's final few days at the VA hospital there in Kansas City, it was just a steady stream of just people coming to tell him what he did for them, what he meant for them. And I knew my dad very well, and I knew he had a big impact on a lot of people. But the people I didn't know that he made a huge, pivotal, transformative difference in their lives by showing up, by being there. Sometimes, giving them one of his cars or a truck, or moving them, taking his truck and saying, let's get you moved, or money, or his resources, his time. He didn't have a lot of money, but he gave. Literally, you hear about a person who would give the shirt off their back. I literally met a guy that said, your dad gave me his shirt.
Like literally?
Literally. They were going to like some job interview, and my dad was like, you can't wear that. He took off his button down, his pearl snap cowboy button down, and gave them his shirt. And he said, and I got the job. And I felt really good going in. I felt like I showed up right. And I had your dad's shirt on. Like, so what does my last day look like? And what is that question, and what is that answer to that question? What did you do? I'm doing it.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And what do you believe to be after this life? What does it look like on the other side? Or not
great question. I think it doesn't look anything like what we think it looks like.
Okay.
I do not believe in hell.
Okay.
I do not. I believe there's something somewhere. I'm not convinced that it's not coming back as an animal. And again, I get asked to leave the Christian table a lot, especially by evangelicals, because what I'm saying, coming back as a bird or a dog or another person, is not aligned with the Christian faith. But I believe that faiths around the world, I've been around the world and I've seen different faiths practiced very beautifully and for much longer than Christianity. And I think there is something, I don't think my energy and my spirit will go nowhere. I think there's something, but I don't think there aren't golden sidewalks. If you ask me, there is not a heaven. It's not up. I think it may be just a continuum of spirit and energy. And I don't spend a lot of time thinking about salvation and the afterlife. One of my spiritual advisors said, Shelley, you're the kind of person that your faith is, he gave me a notion that I really believe in. I think faith it's not about, I hope I don't screw up so badly here that I get to go to heaven. It's not that. My faith makes me better today on, Friday? My faith makes me better today. My faith will make me have a better tomorrow, Saturday, and a better Sunday. And so I don't look at it like a prize that we win. It's right now the prize.
We're living it.
We're living it.
And that's the problem. People are not in the present. It's and I rightfully so. I mean, I understand why, people through trauma or whatever the circumstances are, live in the past sometimes, or, there's anxiety, they're thinking about the future, but it's such a golden moment that we're living right now. Right now.
And the days where I struggle with faith, when someone takes a gun and goes into a kindergarten and murders, 30 kindergartners, I struggle with my faith in those moments. Those are the moments that I think none of it's real. There's just no way a maker of us, a creator of us, would allow that kind of trauma and violence and pain. When I think about these people who have lost their children, I struggle with faith in those moments. But that's why it's called a faith practice. I've got to get for me, it just makes me, it gives me comfort. And it may be all just a pipe dream. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care what other people think. I know that today I'm living in the moment, and my faith makes me able to find joy, allow joy and grief and anxieties and regrets and all of that. It just somehow is kind of the thing that pulls it all together and makes it make sense.
And that's one of the beauties too of maturing and getting older is you don't care like what people think as much. It's not so, it doesn't stop you in your tracks like it did when, in 25 and 30.
Yeah.
Right? And you can kind of move forward and move just living in peace, and being reassured that I don't give a fuck.
Right.
Why not?
You don't get there. Like I'm 54, and what a great place to be in life, because it's not that I don't care what people think of me. I'm wired to, like, I have a concern for people. If someone says I hate her, like, that's not mine. I don't know. It's none of my business what they think of me. But when I check into a hotel or talk to the Uber driver, I care that when I get out of their car, they feel that the experience with that person was one that didn't drain them, that was a positive interaction. So to that extent, I care that people think she was nice. That was a nice person. But losing time and energy around, like, do people like me after having had a career for so long that was kind of predicated on fans liking you and believing in you. I can't do that was exhausting. And if someone decides they don't like me, that's okay. I would be sure that they don't know me. I'm a likable person. I like myself. The people who are in my life, they like me. I make them laugh. I show up for them. They show up for me. That's all I need.
That's the evolution too, right? And it's you've been so open about, mental health.
Yeah. So my nearly ending my life, there is a mental health component to that. No one, my sister-in-law is a psychologist, and I asked her about that. Like, what did that microcosm of that really dark moment look like? And she said, no one arrives in that moment without having a mental health crisis, which I definitely had. I I never had a moment like that before then or after then. And so it was definitely, I had to pay close attention to, I'm not in a good place. If I'm actually thinking that the only move I've got is to put a 9mm gun in my mouth and pull the trigger. And by the way, I had a successful life. I had resources. I had a beautiful home, friends. No one really knew me, family. They didn't really know all of me, but I have people. If I could find myself ready to pull that trigger, a lot of people could, right? And so it wasn't that I was destitute, didn't have a job, had nowhere. I had a good life, and I still contemplated pulling that trigger. And so there was a mental health crisis in that moment. Something was not right. But the next morning when I realized I'm either going to die here in this house or I'm going to come out. When I tell you my life got magical from that moment, I'm not exaggerating. The minute I realized you're going to come out, it wasn't like good. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to come out. What does that look like? How do I do that? That seemed hard and complicated, but I put my strategy hat on. But everything else felt magical. And when I say that, it's that I took this one step. I'm going to come out, and this road kind of opened up in front of me, including the people who would help me come out well, including the right publicist, the right manager, I had finished a record, and I was like, no label in Nashville is going to put this out. I came out to LA and sat down with Kevin Welk of Vanguard Music, and he had already said he wanted the record. He liked the record, and I came out here and I said, so grateful you like the record. Sat in a conference room with his team and someone, that represented me, and I said, I'm really glad you like the record, but I do have to give you some news. I'm gay, and I'm going to come out of the closet. And I wanted to make sure he had the opportunity to say, well, that's not going to work. That's going to be too hard a record to put out. And he looked around at his team and he said, okay. He said, I'll tell you. And he said, when? And I said, I don't know yet. I'm planning how to come out well. And we talked through it. And I told him what I was thinking. And he said, okay, we will put out your record when you are ready to put it out. And in record label worlds, they don't do that. They plan like years in advance for records, and if you miss your window that they've allotted for you, sorry, we can't put your record out because the James Taylor record is coming out, because the X person, whatever record is coming out. And he gave me such a gift in that moment. He said, when you're ready to put this record out, we're with you. We will put it out when you're ready. And then it would be, another 2.5 years, and it came out the day I came out.
It's like all the signs were pointing to you taking the right path,
Exactly. Everything got easy, like relatively easy. And that to me, when things start, is when that flywheel of people and activity and things start to happen, that's when you know, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path.
The lights are green, right?
The lights are green.
And, you mentioned, by all appearances, you look like you had everything together. You've got this successful career. You live in a beautiful house. You're a celebrity. I mean, all these trappings that people see as success. But little did the outside world know that you had that struggle.
Yeah.
So how do we get better checking in on the strong ones, or the ones to appear to have it all,
It's a great question. We do have to get better.
Right.
We are not very good at it. And I think, the people who have had either an isolated mental health issue like I had, or a protracted kind of lifelong mental health issue, I think those people raising their hands and sharing their stories and normalizing what that looks like is really the greatest gift people can give. I don't know if you know who Mark, I think his name is Duplass.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Great
actor. Yeah.
Great actor. So, he is just such a talented guy. He does production as well, writes and acts, filmmaker. I don't know when he began sharing his mental health story, but I follow him on Instagram, and he is front and center about sharing what it looks like, medications, the journey, and like, guys, I'm not doing great today. I'm not in a great place. And I think the courage to use your public capital to share your story like that when you can around mental health is literally saving and changing lives. And so when COVID happened, my peers in music, all of my other touring musician friends, I knew it was scary for all of us. And what I can do is control my outreach to others. So I just kind of, each day I made it a point to reach out to several of people in my peer group that I knew had essentially lost their jobs, right? We all lost our jobs at the same time with and we're gig workers, right? We don't get a corporate check, right? And we don't have a 401k. And not only was the world shutting down, we'd lost our jobs, we'd lost our income. Many of us have employees. We were unable to care for our employees. So I made it a practice, just like a few people a day, just say, what's your number? Meaning we're 10 being great, one being, on the verge of something really dark. What's your number? And this kind of shorthand language, oftentimes I'd get back just a number. They wouldn't go into anything. Oddly, we were all busy with kids and we were in isolation, but there was a lot going on. And sometimes I would just get back a 6. What's your number? I'd be like, I'm in an 8 today. XO, heart. I loved that new practice for me. And I think if we could all just check in with one another in that way, in a new way. And it feels counterintuitive. It feels nosy. It feels sometimes ham-handed. Right. And I do it with my colleagues. What's your number? So I think that's a kind of a new best practices that we can all do.
That's really nice, because that moment could have meant the difference between, somebody caring and not caring, like for them. It's so important.
It's important. And I'm curious, what are your interventions? What have you learned from the conversations you've been having with people and about how to check in?
I think very much like what you were saying is the outreach is so important, because I think now where we are in this world, it's almost like looked down upon to reach your phone, give somebody a call. It's almost intrusive, like you're saying.
Right. I don't call anyone. That's too much. That's a bridge too far.
You ever text?
I hardly ever call anybody. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, no, I know. It's because honestly, used to 10, 15 years ago, I'd pick up a phone and call somebody, but now it's almost like you have to schedule a call. It's a whole thing. Yeah. But I would say definitely text. DM if you have to. However you can get across to that person. And I think too, spending quality time with people without looking at the phone. Without interruptions. Yeah. Just even if it's a 10, 15, 20 minutes a day. That is so important. I know we're both parents as well. And that is one of the things that I try to, especially with my daughter, is give her, a phone-free 20 minutes of me a day where it's just, we're talking, we could even be in the car driving, whatever that is,
It sounds easy to do, that 20 minutes without the devices, but it's super valuable. And the data tells us that with our kids, talking to our kids in the car is a really productive way to have conversations with kids, because they share differently in a car because it feels less pressurized and there's not the icon. We're not looking at them. They, sometimes may feel judged. Taking your kid and saying, come run an errand with me, and talking to them. My kids give it all up in the car.
Do they?
They share, and they will ask questions that are fascinating and interesting and hilarious. But get them in the car. That's the good time to talk.
That's good. Yeah. What other great parenting advice have you learned along the way that you really implemented in your own home?
So our kids developed some anxieties during COVID, for good reason, right? Typically, when scary things go on in the world, we could say, "Trust me, everything's okay." We didn't know that everything was okay, right. And so although we were comforting them, but we couldn't make any promises about anything. A couple of nannies, in our kids' friendship circle, died during COVID.
Gosh.
We lived in New York, a few blocks from a hospital. There were it was a scary time to be in New York. And they began having bad dreams. And so in a kind of a what my wife and I think was a kind of a genius parenting moment, they were afraid to go to bed one night. And they said, one of them, I think it was George, I'm going to have a bad dream. And I said, oh, hold on. Lauren and I went to our bathroom and came back with a little like lotion that we had. And I said, we just got this. Like, put some of this on it, just a dot right here and rub it in. And he said, what is it? And I said, it's good dream cream. And it's just like, it keeps the dreams, the bad dreams away. It helps, at least. No promises, but it helps. And we began that routine that every night they would put on good dream cream. They still ask for it. And, my wife and I ended up, we launched a product, oddly enough, called Good Dream Cream. And people are finding, and it smells good for adults too, but just getting into those practices of comfort and routine, the bedtime and the wake up time routines are really important. And so I would get into bed with the boys and do something I called tag team, which means one of them starts a story, just one line, and then the next boy adds the next line of the story, and then I do. And we got into the practice of collaborating a nighttime story together. And often, yes, it was about poop and chocolate and candy and, video games, but it was something we did together and they could count on it. It was kind of like a touchstone throughout the day. So I think routine, and the routine you've developed with your daughter. You have a routine if she gets all of you for 20 minutes.
Yes.
And I think routines for grownups are important too.
It is
self-soothing, and you can go to bed. Before I go to bed every night, I put lotion on my feet.
Right.
And it's kind of Pavlovian, and I'm very soft feet. But it's Pavlovian. Yeah. If I put lotion on my feet, even like midday, if I were to do it, kind of get a little sleepy.
Sure.
Routine is everything.
That's good on the spot thinking too. You're
right.
Good dream cream.
Right.
Amazing.
And they believed it. And now they know. They're like, you guys made that up. And we're like, of course we did. But they still like their good dream cream. And the olfactory, our olfactory systems, our sense of smell is the most powerful sense. So do you ever, you smell someone that has a perfume that your mom used to wear?
Right.
You smell it and you're 15 again. It's a really powerful sense. And so if you can trigger that, that's what the Good Dream Cream does. It just it takes you back to that spot of calm where your mom is snuggling you for bed, and
so nice.
It's a powerful.
It's comforting.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned launching your business, and you've also stepped into the corporate world. Oh my gosh, you are busy bee now.
I've always got. Again, I had a paper route in first grade. I am the quintessential kind of hustler, entrepreneur, and having grown up with my parents as parents, we didn't have much, but what we did, what we watched them do, they did it with, measure and care, and they put a premium on quality. Whatever you do it well. And they would say, don't half-ass it. Don't half-ass anything. So whatever you do, be the best at it and do it well. And so when I came out of the closet in 2010, that began what I called for a long time my side hustle of working as a consultant in corporate spaces, higher ed, faith communities, around what began as sharing my story, but then I quickly saw that it's culture work. It was early D&I work, or what would go on to become called DEI. But I began to see the power of storytelling and working in corporate spaces, and I loved it so much. And I actually had more of that work than I wanted to do. But I kind of kept it at 30% of my time, and the other 70 was touring, writing, and making records. So when COVID hit, all of my, existing clients were reaching out, can we do a virtual event? And no longer did I have to get on a plane and go be in, Des Moines or Philadelphia for 3 days. I could do corporate work through virtual work. And it really opened up the potential to do that work. And it was the time when George Floyd had been murdered, Breonna Taylor. And it was a pandemic, and people were looking for connectivity and safe spaces to connect. So that work all of my clients were like, can you do, I was very busy in the first part of COVID. And in the summer of COVID, 2020, I took on a new client. in a global design build firm. And I would eventually, after a few months of doing that, they asked me to come on full time. So I did that for 4+ years, and I'm still on their board, advisor to their board, but I've since pivoted to a company called ISS, and we are a global facilities management firm. And what we do is bring the built environment to life, corporate dining, janitorial, technical services, vertical transportation, which means escalators and elevators. And so we do all of the things that bring the built environment to life. We have 325,000 placemakers around the globe. We're the oldest, biggest janitorial company in the world. And our people who go to work every day are people who punch a time clock and do the really honorable work that is often unnoticed. And what's excited me about coming in, the reason I came into this role is that I get to make sure that we are seeing them, providing, hearing them, making sure that we are impacting their livelihoods and their families' livelihoods in a positive way. And most importantly, impacting the communities where they come from. And so I get to make sure that we are doing good. Our company historically in its DNA is values minded. We were doing belonging and inclusion work before anyone was talking about it.
That's great.
And so it's a joy, it's a real honor and a pleasure to get to do good by our people and grow the business in ways that reflect our values and really bring to life the stories of our placemakers.
How did your previous career in country music, singing and songwriting prepare you for this position now?
It's a great question. And I think, there was a headline recently when my new role was announced. And the headline, a friend of mine, a colleague, snapshot it and sent it to me. And she said the headline, meh. And it was, queer country music singer pivots to the C-suite in a corporate space. And she was like, the headline, meh. And I said, yeah, meh. I said, but also, I am the only person on the planet about whom that headline can be written.
That is a good point. That is true, right?
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's really cool, actually.
So when I think about what I did when I did, in the music business, the music is important, very important. And I'm good. I'm good at it.
Right.
I'm a good songwriter.
You are.
Good singer.
Yes, lady, you are.
And I think that the business part of it is why I've had a long career, because I loved the business piece of the music business. And it is often the most important piece. If you look at, there are a lot of artists that have come and gone. Many of them, there's a correlation between they weren't paying attention to the business side, or I just go where my manager tells me to go. I just show up here. It's really hard to sustain a long bit, except for the artists that are unusual and, superstars. But then again, I could argue the case that they're superstars because they took care of their business. And so the things that I was good at, and I knew it even before I got to Nashville, I was good at discipline, planning, strategy, execution, P&L. Like I always was watching my money, and that I did when I had a paper route in first grade. I knew what I was spending and what I needed to do to make a profit. And so all of those kind of, skills that I learned, leadership, storytelling, understanding my audience, whether it be my band and my crew or 1,000 people in a venue, I understood, or a record buying public that was waiting for my next record or came to my show and wanted to meet me afterward and for me to sign an autograph. All of those kind of skills on how to pay attention to your brand and what the deliverable is were I recognized it after I came out and saw that my corporate clients, they were finding value in my deliverable and how I delivered it. And so all of that, and probably that I began buying rental houses in the late 90s. I understood the built environment, and I understood construction, and I understood, making sure that I've got 3 HVAC guys or gals, but they were all guys. And I made sure I knew which plumbers did good work. And having those people that, hey, Ron, the plumbing is out in whatever property, can you hustle over there? My plumber and my vendors and my suppliers and trades people they always took care of me because I always took care of them. So I understood how the ecosystem of subcontractors, vendors, suppliers worked, and that suited me well in the built environment, which I'm in right now. So I think everything I did, it's almost like everything I've done in my life prepared me for this job and this moment. And I think one of the blessings that I have in my life is that wherever I am, that's always my mindset, that, everything I did brought me to this moment, whether it's putting out my memoir or the book I had out a couple of years ago, my moment. It's as if everything I do prepares me for today. And it's just kind of a tiny miracle every day. I'm like, I don't think there's anyone else on the planet who could be in this chair talking to Roxy about this journey except for me.
That is right. That's absolutely right. And I love how you're living holistically. Every moment brought you to where you are today. And
100%.
It's incredible to think about,
And I think everyone, if we looked out the window here, by the way, your office is so cool.
Oh, thank you.
If we looked out the window and saw one person moving around, you and I could walk out there and say, can we talk to you for a minute? We would find, I would bet my eye teeth, we would find that they are exactly, that no one else could be where they are in this moment at this time. We are all a sum of our parts. And what's cool about what you're doing and what I get to do in the world is we get to help other people kind of not just tell their story, but see their story. I can't tell you how many times people come up to me and they're like, well, I came out when I was 20, but it was, yours was much harder, or yours was different, or I got divorced when I was 40, after, I know it's not a big story. I'm like, no, think about this. Your story is super unique, and only one person can be in this space. And everything you did led you up to that moment of saying, hey, I'm going to advocate for myself, or I'm going to advocate for a community that needs advocating for. Everybody's got a book in them. Everybody has a unique story. And I think, like you're saying, true happiness, at least for me, is being in service to others, and really trying to. What else is there?
Right? What else is there? You can't do it all for yourself.
Yeah.
It's you got to be out there to help people, know?
You use the word happiness, true happiness.
Right. What is true happiness to you? What is that?
When I think about my Aunt Char, her son, my cousin David, he died when he was 13. Very suddenly, complications from diabetes. Wow. And I was 9 at the time. He was 13, 1 year older than my boys are right now. And my aunt, who had another child, David's little sister, my cousin Carrie, as I've gotten older, I've always wondered, how did she do it? How did she keep going? And not just keep going, but thriving, and, bought a plane and started flying a plane. Like, this is a remarkable woman. And she's my mentor when it comes to rental properties. And she's lived this incredible, joyful life. And in my adult life, I've asked her, how did you do that? And she said, one day at a time. And one day at a time, she said, yes, there were times that I was obviously devastated. And there were times I lost my son. But she said, I was able to kind of respond to myself in the moment. I have a daughter. I have my nieces and my nephews. I have a mission. I have a purpose. And while I'm here, what else am I going to do? I can't just shrink. And I loved how she put it, that she responded to herself. And we should be in continual dialogue with ourselves. And yeah, I have bad days. And could I wallow around in some self-pity? Yeah, and I have before, but I respond to myself. I have conversations with myself. And that is the only thing that we can do, is respond. And I actually say out loud, okay, get up. Get up.
Yeah.
Because, and the most gratifying things about life are being in service to others. I have spent a good deal of my life serving, like, my dream, and I want to go be on the Grand Ole Opry. I want to be on the radio. There has to be a focus and a somewhat kind of a narcissism. This is the only thing that matters. You can't make it in the arts or entertainment or broadcasting if you're not singularly focused most of the time. But I've served myself enough. I can do for others. And it actually feels better than anything else.
It really does. And once you hit those goals, like you're saying, that you set for yourself, then it's like, okay, that kind of wears off. Then it's on to the next, you know, and you're constantly moving forward, like you're saying. How are you living iconically right now?
Such a great question. I am living iconically in letting go and releasing expectations that the world has of a woman, a queer woman in her mid-50s. Example, I began having hot flashes a couple of years ago. So I mean, full-on menopause. And because in my last role and in my current role, like how I show up at work, and I have a lot of power, right? I have a lot of position. I have a lot of influence in the companies in the company I last worked at and this one. And I made a decision that when I have a hot flash, I'm going to say it out loud. So I would be in meetings, whether it be with clients or my team, and you can feel it, and you can see it, right?
It bubbles up.
You actually emanate heat.
Yes.
So what I would do is say, take my jacket off, and I would say, you might notice that I'm red right now, and you might notice that my neck is a little blotchy. I'm okay. I'm having a hot flash, and in about 90 seconds, I'm going to be freezing cold. And I love the reaction that I don't do it for shock value. I do it because that's a decision I've made. And I'm usually in meetings with men, you know, sometimes women, but almost always men. And almost every time men will say, oh, my wife isn't that. Or, oh, my sister, or my mom, my mom's in that right now. And it almost always sparks like a 2-minute dialogue about, you know, what's that like? And I'm like, oh, it's fine. It just happens like twice a day. I have a hot flash. And again, I'm going to be freezing in 2 minutes. And that feels iconic to me, to own that. And because I have the power, position, and resource and safety to say it, I say it.
That's amazing. It's also creating a bridge that you didn't know existed before with that other person, you know?
Right. Nobody doesn't know someone going through menopause.
Right.
And if I can just own it and say it, and the same thing happens with, you know, being a queer person. I'll have people, you know, talk about my wife or my kids at work, and sometimes you're like, you can see people like, but then they'll kind of pull me aside, and you can see they're visible, like, wow, she just said that out loud in a meeting or in a presentation. And people usually follow up at some point. It might be a year, it might be, you know, an hour after, and they'll be like, you know, thank you for sharing that. I've got a trans daughter, or I've got, you know, like a couple of real dudes at work. Like one of them said, my son came out to me a couple of years ago, and I just thank you for. I want to use the word normalizing, but we are normal, but thank you for making it more talked about. And I think that's living iconically. That's
absolutely living iconically. What advice would you give to your 25-year-old self?
Enjoy your success. Having grown up poor, I was so careful with money, like overly careful with money, and even my business manager at one point after September 11th, so I would have been 31. he called me into his office. He said, I want you to you take a vacation. I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, spend some of your money. You don't spend any of your money. I've seen this before. You're going to burn out. Enjoy your success. And I was like, what do you mean I don't spend my money? I just bought a rental house, another rental last week. And he was like, that doesn't count. He said, go on a vacation. And I said, well, I was just in Europe. And he said, no, you tacked that onto a tour. I'm telling you, enjoy yourself. Do something for yourself. So that would be my advice, is like have a little more fun. I didn't have enough fun.
And what does self-care look like for you today?
Self-care for me is finding a day where I don't have to speak to, tapping out completely. If my wife lets me go upstate, or I let her, we tried to switch off and got a place in the Hudson Valley. It's important that I push her to tap out, go. Like, get on the train, drive up there, be gone. As a parent, as a wife, as a worker, go tap out. And for me, when I get to tap out for a day or two, it includes my not even opening my mouth or speaking to anyone. I'm not very social. I don't want to go like, let's go have dinner with a friend. Like, tapping out is putting on my hocus and walking 15 miles and in silence, or a podcast or music, or fixing something in the house, tinkering with something, but actually not speaking to another human being. And also watching a documentary. I love documentaries.
See, there is something so nice about that, recharging and just being quiet, I think it's called an ambivert.
Yes.
I
can you can put me in a room with 1,000 people or 10 people. I am very interested in people. If I go to a drugstore, a CVS, Dwayne Reed, I will go in and have I do like people. It's not that I'm antisocial. I like people. I'm interested in people, but I also need that counterbalance of complete silence and isolation. I need my battery filled, and I'm not a social person. I fantasize about a year off and reading books and watching documentaries and walking. I love that. So that's my self-care.
And your last studio album was in 2016. Will we be hearing any new music coming up?
I don't know when, but absolutely. I will always. Okay. Yeah, I'm not through with music. Music's not through with me. And I'm working on a musical right now. Oh, okay. Gene Smart bought the life rights of my... Gene Smart acquired the life rights of my book, Like Me, my memoir. And we're working on a Broadway musical.
Oh, that's wonderful. When will it launch?
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't. Okay. We've just... people are coming on to the project. So the book writer and the... I'll be co-writing music for it. So the team is coming together, and these things take a long time. So I don't know when that will be, but we're headed in that direction. And I know I'll make another record. I don't know when. I often, that tracks with my whole career. I never know when. I know it when in my belly, I'm like, oh, it's time to start pulling out the songs and hit the studio. So.
And that's a great partner to have, Gene Smart. Wow. Amazing.
She's amazing and lovely. And her show, all of what she does is so good and so funny. Hacks, of course, is genius. I remember her telling me about this new thing she was doing. And I was like, well, what is it? She said, it's called Hacks. And she said, kind of don't like the title because I think it sounds like someone hacking into computers. And she said, but it's about this comedian, in her golden years, and she makes a comeback. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. She said, I'm doing it because I think it's great. And then watching the world, receive it. And I'm like, I feel just like I was on the inside,
like you knew before.
I knew before. Else. And I just that's a cool feeling. And she couldn't be, she is one of the most talented people on planet Earth. And every time I talk to her, get together with her and have a meal or have a Zoom call, I'm just like, that's Gene Smart.
Right. Growing up watching her, I mean, she's been on so many amazing projects,
She has been, and something people might not know about her, the queer community loves Hacks. The queer community loved Designing Women, but she was an early advocate, including, but not limited to, I think her first kind of work was on stage telling stories about, there was a story that, a play that she did about a gay person. Like, she's like the GOAT, the OG of being a straight ally. It's who she is. And she thinks that my life journey is valuable, and I love her for it.
Well, it is very interesting. So you'll have to come back on the Iconic Midlife.
I'll bring Jean.
Yes.
What if I bring Jean? Oh my God.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
She's an amazing, iconic woman. And I've loved talking to you today.
Me too. Me too. I've had such a wonderful time. I'd love to wrap up with a little game that
I
we
love
play.
games.
Okay, here we go. This is a little rapid fire game.
Okay, love rapid
Okay,
fire.
here we go. Cowboy boots or combat boots?
Combat boots.
Okay. One word your younger self would use to describe you now.
Happy.
That's great. Biggest midlife flex?
My career pivot.
That's a good one. Guilty pleasure that you're 0% guilty about?
I've been watching Suits.
Oh, you have,
And it's so not like me. And I started watching it within the past year, and I love it. And I think and it's cheeky, and you know, and I love it. I love it.
What did you think? How do you think Meghan is on the show? Meghan Markle.
She's amazing. She's amazing. And I love Louis Litt, whatever his I don't even know the actors' names except for Meghan Markle, but I love it, and I do not feel guilty about it.
Good.
I love it. It's my new best friend.
Oh, that's great. Okay, we have to put Suits in the queue. I need to watch that.
Oh, I'd been seeing people watching it for years, and I was like, that looks dumb. I never watched that. I love it. I think the characters are really dynamic. I love it.
Oh, that's great.
It's a great show.
Okay. I'm going to put it in the queue for sure.
Yeah.
It's gotten so much, attention.
There's a reason
too,
so many
right?
people have watched it.
Right.
And the wardrobe, and Meghan Markle has, the perfect physique, and another woman, two more women on the show. They're dressed to the nines, and I'm like, they look great in that. And
so it's got all the check marks, the good style, like the fun dialogue, the great actors,
the curse words. Yeah. It's like a network thing, but they dropped the bad language. They don't say the F-bomb, but I like it.
Okay.
I love it. Yeah, you're gonna like it. Let me know what you think.
Okay, definitely. Most iconic woman over 40 that you know, or that it's somebody in history. It can be anyone.
Jean Smart.
I mean,
duh.
Right?
Duh.
Cue that one up.
Right. Jean Smart.
Okay, that's a good one. Midlife mantra in 3 words or less.
Use your power.
That's great.
Use my power.
Oh,
yeah. Own that a little bit more.
And say it over and over again, right?
Use my power.
Use my power. Okay. Red carpet moment or front porch chill?
Oh, front porch chill.
Right.
100% easy.
No glam, just
No
chill
glam.
and easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a whole job in and of itself.
It is.
Your go-to karaoke song?
I've never done karaoke.
You've never done karaoke? What? That is, I don't believe that. Never done it? Well, I guess you don't really have to when you're a singer. You're cutting your own albums. I mean,
I've been places where people get up and do it. I've never done it.
Really? So at a party, if somebody asked you, "Oh, will you sing this song?" or will you just sing one of your own, or is it usually somebody?
I just laugh. You're crazy. And it's not that I'm like too good to do.
Right.
Maybe some of it is that I'm an alto, and most songs that I would sing of other people's are like, the thing about being a live musician, when I used to play shows and gigs, I could take the songs that I wanted to sing, and if they were in a women's key, like I can transpose them down a half step or a whole, because I'm an alto. So most famous songs, it's like women like showing off their range. I've got a wide range, but it skews a bit lower. So maybe it's always been that I know that those karaoke songs are cut in the key that the artist cut it in, so I can't change the key. But also, like, why would I sing karaoke? Like, give me a guitar or a piano. I could do that.
Okay.
So, and I love watching other people do it. I think it's amazing, but
I've got an idea.
And my songs are always like, people say, your song is in the karaoke, come do it. And I'm like, eh.
Okay, the next time you come back, I will have a karaoke machine in here ready for you.
And we'll sing my songs?
Yes, we'll sing your songs, and Jean will be here, and we'll all sing together.
Because they're cut in the key that I recorded them in. I know the key works for me because they're my songs.
Right. That makes sense.
Right.
Totally
So,
makes
all right,
sense.
we'll do it.
You're like, okay, that one.
I will sing karaoke with you.
Yes! Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Okay, this will be so fun.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite cocktail?
I don't drink.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Incredible. I'll have some fresh water for you then.
Yeah, and it's not. And I used to drink a little here and there. I'm not in the program. I'm
Right.
But it always triggered migraines for me, and I had a stroke in 2018.
That's right.
That was migraine related, and I'm just also. I don't want to drink. I don't drink because I want to wake up with an advantage.
Right. Right.
And because I have 10,000 sunrises left. Alcohol makes me feel bad. And I do like the taste of wine, but it's like, just, so my favorite drink, though, is Fresca.
Oh.
I love Fresca.
That's nice.
And I didn't know until like a few years ago that they brought it back.
Oh.
So, yeah, Fresca or water, orange juice, coffee. I like grapefruit juice. Had some this morning.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm one of those, I'm not sober.
Right.
I just don't drink.
No, you know what? As I've gotten older, I notice a difference. Even one glass of wine the next day, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
You
and
know?
I don't have time for a headache.
No.
I've got shit to do.
Yes,
Let's
exactly.
go. Let's freaking go.
We've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing, this might be the answer to the next question. One thing you finally gave up and don't miss at all.
Yeah, I would say giving it up meant that it was something I did with regularity. One thing I gave up and don't miss at all. Well, I haven't had meat since 1997.
Oh, was it because of like an animal, like just?
I got food poisoning at one point, and I thought it was from the chicken. It was probably from the hollandaise sauce, but I went like a week without meat, and then I was like, and this is very much my personality. I tend to do I tend to go in extremes, which is, I think, from growing up poor and hyper disciplined. When you're a closeted queer person, you get hyper disciplined about things, and so I went a week without meat, and I was like, maybe I'll go 2 weeks, maybe I'll go 3 weeks, and it's been since the late 90s.
And you don't miss it, right?
I don't miss it. I think I need more iron and protein, and now I miss it, like I smell bacon, and I say to my wife, breathe in my face.
Get all the air.
But I kind of I don't like to break my streaks. I'm very much into, I made a decision. I don't do that.
That's discipline right there. I mean,
discipline.
It is. It's carried you through. You know?
And I should probably relax a little bit and have a hot dog.
That could be later. Be later.
But at this point, I would like to live to 100, and I feel like I'm pescatarian, so I eat dairy and eggs, and so that's what I gave up, and don't really miss it.
Okay, that's a good one. Hot take: therapy is blank.
Necessary.
Everyone needs it, don't you think?
Everyone needs it.
I'm a believer in that.
I've been going to therapy since I was 23.
Okay.
I wouldn't be here. I would not have been able to forgive people in my life, and I wouldn't have been able to seek forgiveness in my life were it not for the skills and the things and the self-reflection and the habits that I learned in therapy. Therapy is as needed as water and sustenance, and everybody needs therapy. Everybody. What a gift. What a gift.
It is. There's something so cathartic about talking to somebody who is not in your orbit, and just
a true third party.
Right. Who has no skin in the game. Can tell you yes, no, and give you honest feedback.
Yeah. In fact, in 2008, I went to a retreat called the Hoffman Institute.
Oh, you did Hoffman. What
I'm
did
a
you
Hoffman
think?
grad. It changed my life.
Okay.
It kind of took all of what I had learned in therapy for, the 15 years prior, and it really coalesced and put into action the true tenets of, compassion, love, forgiveness. The Hoffman process changed my life in so many amazing ways. I think about it every day. I still do. It changed me in and helped me continue to grow. So yeah, I'm a Hoffman grad. Did you go?
No, I didn't, but I've been really wanting to. And
Life-changing.
Life-changing. That's
A friend of mine, Brooke Baldwin, who is a journalist.
Yes.
She and I were texting a couple of years ago, and we hadn't checked in for a few months. And she said, by the way, I want to talk to you about a place called the Hoffman Institute. If you haven't ever considered it, you really should. And I wrote Hoffman 2008. I was like, I should have known it. Yeah.
You're like, been there, done that.
Been there, done that.
Definitely have the diploma.
Yeah, and it's and I've encouraged a lot of people to go. And back in the day, you kind of had to have a recommendation letter to go. It was hard to get in, and you know, people had to kind of sponsor and vouch for you. And I sponsored many people, and I am forever grateful to Rodney Crowell, who sponsored me.
That's wonderful. Okay. That's also in the queue. That must get done.
Yeah. Go do it.
Okay.
Change your life.
Good. And last one, fill in the blank. Midlife is not a crisis. It's an
opportunity.
There it is. There it is. There it is.
Oop, there it is. Are we going to do that's our karaoke? We do that on karaoke?
That's our karaoke.
That sounds easy to sing.
Yeah, right. Not a lot of keys.
Right,
just kind of like in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's do it.
We've got this.
I love that. Thank you so much, Shelley. It's been a pleasure having you on today.
What a delight to talk to you. And again, thank you for the work you're doing in the world to help others not just know their story, but tell their story.
Oh, thank you so much. That means everything to me. Really important. Please tell everybody where they can find you.
They can find me on the socials. My name is Shelley Wright, but it's spelled with the C. CHELY WRIGHT. Shelley.com. Oddly, that's had it forever. LinkedIn. So if you want to connect with me through the corporate lens, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm out there. I'm easily Googleable. Find me.
Yes,
I'd love to connect.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Roxy.
Shelley, thank you for showing us what it looks like to stand in your truth with grit, grace, and zero apologies. Your story is a masterclass in courage and reinvention, and such a powerful reminder that midlife isn't about fading out. It's about coming in louder, stronger, and more yourself than ever before. To everyone listening, if today's conversation moved you, inspired you, or made you feel a little more seen, make sure to follow the Iconic Midlife on your favorite podcast platform. Leave a review, 5-star please, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. And follow us on all of the social media platforms at The Iconic Midlife. And you can also follow me at Red Carpet Roxy for more unfiltered midlife magic. Until next time, stay bold, stay brilliant, and stay iconic.